You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there, and welcome to episode 29. I hope you are well. I am absolutely loving October so far, and I hope that you're having the kind of amazing weather that we are wherever you may be, because we're getting ready to head into the dark months of the year here in North Texas, and this time I'm going to be ready for it. For now, I am soaking up all of the sunlight that I possibly can. I took a 2-hour walk the other day. I stopped in a meditation spot for a while. I walked around the lake and I walked out around the row of painted rocks that has grown quite a bit since it started in the spring. Just this long row of rocks with brightly colored designs and messages. Many of them are messages of hope and compassion, which is wonderful. We need to see those things, like out in the wild, not just on social media. I think that's so crucial right now, which is why I took the time to do that activity. I made the time for it. I scheduled it even. I highly recommend it. And one of the rocks, too, was super cute. I wanted to tell you about that one. It was painted white with that raised puffy paint. And it said, "Can you smell what the rock is cooking?" It made me laugh, seriously. So very necessary to see a good pun, a funny message, and just laugh. Another thing we did is that last weekend, our family drove to South Padre Island for a few days. We had never been there. We absolutely love beaches, and we decided to check it out over our son's birthday. Y'all, it was everything. The joy on his face all weekend long, so very wonderful. Absolutely worth it. My husband and I joke about living vicariously through the boy, but that's exactly what we do. We make up all kinds of reasons to travel to all of the places that we possibly can so he can have great experiences and memories. It's actually perfect because you know who else gets great experiences and memories out of that deal? Yeah, we do. Let me tell you a little secret. Gratitude is an antidote. I truly believe that. That's why I try to turn to it every single day. Find something that I'm grateful for right now, in this very moment. I'm telling you that it works wonders. Which brings me to our topic. I wanted to tell you that 2020 called and left a message that says, "It's not me, it's you." Because even though people have been saying it for several months, "I can't wait for this year to be over," some of y'all are getting downright giddy about it now that we're in the fourth quarter. On the home stretch, you're like, this shit year is almost over. And I'm over here laughing my ass off because honestly, we do this every year. Every January, we have laid out in our minds how much better this year is going to be. You might want to reflect and apologize to 2019, my friends. Some of you might want to consider that. Because it's as if something magical is going to happen with the calendar and all of the bad things are going to disappear, leaving us only with our bad memories. But here we are nearing the end of 2020, and we're already looking back saying, wasn't it cute how we thought the pandemic would only last a couple of months? How it would be gone by summer? Yeah, warmer weather's coming and it'll just go away. Nope. You'd better hope that 2021 doesn't come in and say, hold my beer. Here's the thing I want to share with you today. It's about perspective, and that's something you own. That's where your power lies. I'm not even mad at 2020. Not one bit. I mean, I kicked this episode off by sharing some amazing experiences I've just had over the past week. That's about perspective. And here's where you might say, well, I don't have your life. I can't just take a 2-hour walk or a drive to the beach for the weekend. I would do that if I could. Well, okay. So what can you do? What is your happy place? Figure it out and make it so. If you're waiting for 2020 to be over to start living your life, you're going to be missing out on so much joy. Why would you want to miss that? Why would you want to just give up an entire year or more? I mean, who knows how long things are going to be the way that they are. See, I settled into that realization from the very beginning. I have no control over what happens out there in the world. And if I focus on that, I will surely feel overwhelmed and dejected, powerless to change any of it. You'll notice I talk about power a lot, and there's a reason for that. When I realized how to find it on my own, I also knew how many of us don't even have a clue about this, and I wanted to share this with anyone who will listen. And the fact that you're listening means that you're at least curious. And if you have heard me before, you also know I love curiosity just about as much as I love gratitude. Curiosity is always your friend. It leads to knowing, not just knowing new things, but ultimately knowing yourself. And when you start to master that, the knowing yourself thing, you begin to experience that power that I'm talking about. No, I'm not even mad at 2020. If I were, that would be on me, because I know that I'm having thoughts about how 2020 should be different. It's just like we do with the humans. We're assigning the same characteristics to a date on the calendar when we say we just want it to be over, done with, gone. Wish it never happened. It's horrible. If we could just change it, life would be better. And none of that is true. We don't even stop to ask ourselves if it's true or not. We just automatically say these things. We spout them off as if they are facts. 2020 sucks. People suck. Life sucks. Yet none of that is true. They're all thoughts. Here's why I don't think it's a horrible experience. I get to spend more time with my family. Every damn day. We're saving time and money by eliminating my husband's commute. We're not eating out once or twice per week like we used to. I mean, yes, we do order in sometimes, and it's cheaper to do that because we aren't adding drinks from the bar to our meals anymore, just the food. I have canceled memberships and subscription services that I realized I don't need. I am much more thoughtful about those things, and I try to gravitate towards supporting small businesses as much as possible. When we do order in, we mostly stick with locally owned restaurants. We always try to put them first. We always did, but now even more so. We just have a greater awareness. Now, will they survive? I don't know. And that's not up to me. That's bigger than our efforts, but we make them just the same. And that feels like the right thing to do. Many of us have learned that we can do a lot more online than we ever realized. When it's that forced change, you just have to figure it out. I mean, I've always done my coaching sessions over Zoom for a couple of years now. And the benefit to me is that I don't have to explain to anyone what it is and how to use it. That's honestly a beautiful thing. A year ago, half my clients hadn't heard of Zoom, so I'd have to give them a little background and convince them that it would work just as seamlessly as an in-person meeting. Our school systems are figuring out how to deliver lessons remotely, also through Zoom. Has it been seamless? Absolutely not. But I have a lot of compassion for those who aren't tech savvy, probably from the years that I did tech support. I get it. I understand. I am patient because I know that the teachers and administrators who aren't quite there will catch up and they'll do it fast. They have no choice. And that's what they have done. Everything in my district regarding online learning is starting to level out. The students, of course, took to it pretty easily. The tree hugger in me really enjoyed seeing the clearer skies and cleaner water in the spring when we had some lockdowns in our major cities. There was evidence that the planet could heal from all of the destruction if we are willing to make some changes. Do I think we will? Probably not. Is that well beyond my scope of control? Absolutely. Am I still going to do my part and buy local, drive less, recycle, and hug all of the trees? You better believe I will, because those are things that I care about, and when I put my attention and energy toward the things that I care about, I feel good feelings. I see things differently. I see my place in the world in a new light. I believe that I matter. Whether I really do or not can't be scientifically proven. And what doesn't matter is whether anyone else agrees with me. As long as I believe that I matter, that's all that is needed for me to enjoy my life here, my time here, because that is how our brains work. I can even choose to see all of the civil unrest we are experiencing as a country as something positive. Here's why. And I'm not the only one who sees it this way. During the time when a good portion of our country was required to be still, to stay home, to press pause on our crazy, busy lives, the ones that we were constantly complaining about, by the way. Go on, reminisce about 2019. While we were forced in a way to be still and to listen, the cloak that has been covering racism was removed. Our blinders were ripped off. In a very shocking way. More than once, mind you. But George Floyd was the pinnacle of all of it, and while it was and is an absolute tragedy, the fact that it happened when it did was perhaps necessary. And yes, inevitable, because Black people will tell you that this has been going on all along. Many of us just didn't see it, or we didn't want to see it. We wanted to believe that the Civil Rights Act fixed everything magically, just like we want to believe that a new year is going to fix everything. But that event was unarguably a catalyst. It has spawned an awakening and a level of awareness and attention that, quite frankly, is needed. Now, don't go getting all twisted and suddenly assume that I support rioting and destroying businesses. I do not. Yet that's a solid example of one of the things that I cannot control, rioting and looting and destruction. I don't have to condone or condemn it, any of it, really. I can sit with my awareness and understanding of what I do know. My ability to continue to build and to strengthen my allyship to further my own education on these matters. I have learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot, and it is something I will not look away from simply out of convenience. I see that as a positive. I'm not going to sit here in my place of privilege and judge others, point fingers, and condemn. That's not my place, and quite honestly, it doesn't feel good. Those angry emotions don't serve me. Do I get angry? Oh, hell yes, of course I do. But when I get outraged about the injustices in the world, I do have to ask myself, really, what can I do? What difference can I make? And that takes me to a place of careful consideration. When I question, I can lead myself into problem-solving mode. You can do that too, if you want to. Or you can yell at the TV, block and unfriend people on social media, or refuse to attend another Thanksgiving dinner if your uncle is going to be there. That's absolutely your prerogative. If that feels good to you, be my guest. Have at it if it gives you a release. It just doesn't work for me. Being angry and angsty and feeling powerless? Been there, done that. It didn't feel productive at all. It didn't really take me anywhere beyond feeling stuck in that place. No, thank you. Now, I just gave you a lot of examples of ways that I'm viewing 2020 in a positive light, even when it comes to tragedy and injustice. Please do not walk away from this episode with the notion that I am saying, just think positive, because that is not at all what I'm saying. No, that's ridiculous. There's far too much bad shit going down to look the other way or to try to wrap it up with pretty paper and present it as a gift. But that's an interesting concept, isn't it? What if there are some gifts hiding away in this mountain of awful? I gave you some examples of things I'm choosing to see. What are they for you? And notice if you go straight to the negative, the worst that can happen. Because if it can't be scientifically proven that I matter, here's what is proven. Our brains are very complex, yet also not nearly as evolved as our technology. If you listened to my last episode, I discussed the Social Dilemma movie, and they touch on this. In that film, it's true. I talk about our primitive brain all the time, that basic instinct, seek pleasure, avoid pain, save energy. Our brains want to be efficient. That's where the save energy part comes in. So if it has been programmed over time through our social conditioning and beliefs to see things a certain way, say through a negative lens, then that's going to be its go-to. If you focus on the worst of things, you won't be able to see the best of things. As Tony Robbins says, energy flows where your focus goes. Are you putting your focus on all of the things that are wrong with the world right now? Unable to see a single tree in that forest? That one might even be worth hugging, I'm telling you. That's the one. And you can't even see it. Because if that's what you're focusing on, your brain is going to offer evidence to support your belief. If you think everything is fucked, your brain, in all of its splendid efficiency, is going to say, of course it is. Here are all of the stories I already have on file to support that thought. Phew, glad you didn't make me think too hard trying to save energy over here. This is called the reticular activating system, and I mentioned it briefly in episode 23 if you want to go back and check that one out. That episode is similar to this one in that I gave examples about proving your thoughts and your beliefs. But that reticular activating system is what your brain uses to provide you with evidence that your thoughts are right. This episode is really intended to take that to the next level for a couple of reasons. First, I'm not going to hear any more about how horrible 2020 has been without offering you some options to view things differently. What if 2020 is exactly how it's supposed to be? What if it really is you who's the problem in this relationship with the calendar year? Psst, it's your thoughts. Second, I think it's important to remind ourselves that the future is uncertain and it always has been. It always will be. The difference here is that all of the uncertainty has been in our face day in and day out. When will businesses reopen fully? When will I go back to the office? What will virtual learning for school look like? How much longer do I have to wear a mask in public? It's a level of collective uncertainty that can feel overwhelming when you zoom out. But when you zoom in, Well, that's where you find the gifts and the gems, the nuggets of opportunity that come from challenge and from change, the light in the darkness, the beacon of hope. When I suggest that 2020 is exactly as it's supposed to be, here's why. Because all of the things around us are happening. It isn't supposed to be any other way. And having thoughts that it should be another way simply won't serve you. Not now, not ever. It's supposed to be this way because that's what is happening. No changing it, no fighting back against it. Look, we are in the midst of a global pandemic that only presents itself once a century. The difference with this one is that it's the first time we've been so digitally connected worldwide. That connection is both a blessing and a curse. I'm certainly grateful for it. I have several clients and I have peers living in other countries, and I love being able to connect with them in an instant. The curse is that the spread of information is also rapid. That information may or may not be correct, and our brains are on overload trying to manage all of these inputs coming at us every hour. Whether you get your news from social media, the mainstream media, or alternative sources, news is always designed to shock you. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith says the news is the lowest common denominator of the human experience. Spot on, of course. The primary objective of any news source is to show us the worst of humanity. Think about it. If you watch 30 minutes of the evening news, even if you limit it to just that amount per day, the segment kicks off with the most ominous music and the headlines start coming at you rapidly. One awful headline after another. And this continues for the entire 30 minutes with a few commercial breaks here and there. Then they usually end with a nice feel-good story just so we don't spiral into a state of total despair. No, I'm fucking with you. I honestly don't even know why they bother to end on a feel-good moment. Maybe just to say it's not always bad news, and maybe to keep you around to the end because you know something good will come eventually. I'm not saying don't watch the news, though I know plenty of people who are happy to be blissfully unaware of what's going on out there in the world, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Information can be useful, essential information. Awareness is important. More people are aware of the struggles in our country and around the world because of it. Now, what I'm suggesting is that you limit it a great deal. For every minute of gloom and doom that you take in, balance that out with an equal amount of love and light. Take a walk outside, connect with yourself or someone you love, do something that doesn't require screen time. Whatever it is for you, whatever love and light means for you. The question to also ask yourself when you take in the news is, what do I do with that? How does this help me or help me help others? Those are the questions. And I think really having that conversation with yourself helps your brain decide what's important to carry around and think about all day, every day. Because left on its own to decide, your brain is going to pick the scariest, most awful scenarios and spin out. That's what the primitive brain does. It's in survival mode. It hasn't evolved that much. Doing those inquiries within, yes, inquire within, require that higher brain power, some decision making. Perhaps you explore outreach efforts in your local community, ways to serve and support other humans that takes you out of that space of the worst of humanity into that servant approach. Living is giving. It is said that if you find something you care about more than yourself, that's when you are truly alive. Shifting your thought patterns from a place of helplessness and despair to a place of giving and serving others will swing that pendulum over to gratitude. These are the things that feed your soul. Find them. Find what they are for you. Spend time searching for ways that you can give during the time you would normally spend consuming the news. I promise this will work wonders. Ask yourself, what am I capable of and what can I manage? Any small act is going to make a difference. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to run for city council because there isn't enough diversity now. I mean, that is a fantastic goal for sure. Keep that goal while you connect with a cause that's important to you and you start small, simple, manageable, and repeatable. We just need to settle into the fact that we are here living in this time. There have been worse time periods to have lived through. I like to remind myself of that. I like to extend gratitude to all of the creature comforts I've had throughout this year. I mean, this could be happening at a time before air conditioning was invented, before we had electricity, all of these things that we have. Wishing it were over and hoping that 2021 will be better than this shit show is simply not helpful. That's looking at the larger view, the forest, and something you have no control over. Zoom in. Find your tree, your house, your own backyard. There's no place like home. You have far more agency there than anywhere else. I heard a fellow coach, Marlene McNally, say, shifting your brain to focus on what's great is a spiritual practice. And I felt that one. I felt it in my soul. It most certainly is. It won't be easy at first. The practice will be over a lifetime, but you will get better at those shifts as the time passes. Believe me, I would not be managing all of this as well as I am had it happened just a few years ago. That's why everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. As Rumi says, there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I'm not mad that there is some light shining into some very dark corners right now. These are things that we all need to see, really see, once and for all. I look at it as an awakening, and the gifts that come with such an awakening usually include change. It won't be pretty while we are living it. The transition will be rough, as they always are, but I truly believe that our lives will be better because of it. And when it's all said and done, we're going to look back on this time and reflect on the changes that came from it. We're going to have amazing stories to tell. If we've done the work and we've focused on the right things along the way, we're going to see every one of those gifts. And we will receive them with gratitude, the antidote for the soul. Whew, that's it. If you're feeling some kind of way about 2020, I would love to connect. Visit my website, sunnythelifecoach.com. Click Let's Do This, and you'll receive a link to my calendar to schedule a free coaching session. Anything goes. I cannot wait to hear from you. Light up, shine on.